But first, how's he doing? That, like everything else in this country, depends upon your silo, your bubble. And I know this from my personal interactions, hours spent this week conversing with my SiriusXM radio listeners and many social media exchanges. Here's how I see the divide. To the critics, the 73 million who voted for someone other than Donald Trump, this thing is already a hot mess. We have a president still fighting over the size of his inaugural crowd. He sends bombastic, petty tweets. He made an overly political speech standing in sacred space at the CIA, lies about voter fraud, entertains thoughts of reinstituting torture, has already offended the Mexican president, now wants to stick the American people with the bill for the wall, and has a senior advisor openly telling the media they are the opposition. But none of that seems to matter to the 46% who voted for him. They are elated. Here's what they see: a media-driven fight over crowd size, immediate action like he promised to end Obamacare, a reinstated abortion ban, the end of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, NAFTA on life support, a revival of the Keystone Pipeline, follow-through on that pledge to build the wall, and a willingness to send the feds to end all that carnage in Chicago. There's not much overlap in those two views. But there is a way of working through all this. The policy disputes are mostly honest differences. We had an election, one side won, the other side lost. The losing side has to face policy consequences, and the 46%, they're in charge. But what is unacceptable is government by distortion, by fear, by intimidation, making unfounded assertions about voter fraud or needlessly insulting the people of Mexico. That's intolerable. And left undeterred, that can only metastasize to more impactful issues. Now, there is, of course, an institution that should be playing a moderating role with regard to this divide. I speak of the Congress. Congress can limit the first use of nuclear weapons, halt the building of walls without authority, and sign off on whether there are sanctions with Russia. I also believe that the Congress has a leadership role to play in the court of public opinion and in private discussions with the president about modulating his behavior when necessary. So here's hoping that they fill the enormous void. You know, I've always tried to balance this program with voices from all sides. You're watching a special edition of Smirkanish on President Trump's first week in office. So we just heard from Trump's supporters, now to those that his senior advisor has branded the opposition party, the media. The president kicked the week off at the CIA saying this:
as you know, I have a running war with the media. They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth. What?
Yesterday, senior advisor Steve Bannon told the New York Times, quote, "The media should be embarrassed and humiliated and keep its mouth shut and just listen for a while. The media here is the opposition party. They don't understand this country. They still do not understand why Donald Trump is the president of the United States," unquote. Perhaps he hasn't heard what Thomas Jefferson once said, and I'm paraphrasing, better to have newspapers without a government than a government without newspapers. This discrediting of the media, uncoincidentally, came after many publications began describing statements by the president as lies. Other news outlets have tried going the euphemistic route. But in her recent piece, Maybe Trump Isn't Lying, the Washington Post's Jennifer Rubin raises this question: is he lying, or is he unable to separate what he wants to believe and what exists literally in front of his eyes? Jennifer Rubin joins me now, as does co-host of NPR's On the Media, Bob Garfield. Jennifer, explain that quote that I just paraphrased. What were you saying?
I think what we're saying is we have two choices when we evaluate these things. He's either deliberately lying, that is, he knows the truth and he is conveying the opposite of the truth, or he comes to believe these things fervently that simply aren't so. And if it's the latter, it basically says that he's not able to deal with the world the way it is. He has to construct a world in which he is the superhero, he is the most acclaimed, he is the most popular. There's no way he could lose the popular vote. That's dangerous. That's not the way democracies work. And the notion that the truth tellers, if you will, anybody else who brings forth the facts should be, quote, shut up, is really frightful. That's how they talk in non-democratic countries.
In a backhanded way, are you giving him a pass of sorts?
No, I'm saying, well, if you want to say delusional is a pass, I suppose delusional is a pass. But listen, you know,
you
it's
flatterer, Jennifer.
Yeah, I know. You know, I had this kind of running debate all week with voters, and they're not sure entirely. You know, there is a thin line between deluding yourself because you have to believe something and really kind of knowing that it's not true and telling people something anyway. So let's be honest here. What he is telling us is not true facts. And if he's going to lie to us about how big a crowd size is when we see 2 photographs before our eyes, what else is he going to lie about? I'll tell you one thing he's going to lie about, and that is that Mexico is going to pay for the wall. That's a lie.
Bob Garfield, I want to show you what Gerard Baker from the Wall Street Journal said to Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. Roll that.
Do you feel comfortable saying so-and-so lied? To be that, you know, if somebody says just an outright falsehood, do you say the word lie? Is that important to start putting in reporting or not?
You know, it's a good, I'd be careful about using the word lie. Lie implies much more than just saying something that's false. It implies a deliberate intent to mislead.
Is there a deliberate intent in this case, Bob, sufficient that you think media outlets are greenlit to use the word lie?
Well, you know, I don't get to make that call for individual outlets. So before I actually answer your direct question, let me answer a larger one. This notion that the media is an opposition party is preposterous on many reasons, not the least of which is there is no the media. I mean, media is a plural. And imagining that they are working in concert is, well, it's idiotic in addition to being kind of evil. Blaming the media for calling out the president on a lie is kind of like tripping over a chair leg and saying it's a conspiracy of the furniture. It's the furniture they're out to get us. I mean, it's just stupid. And it's also evil because it's part of itself a big lie that's been ongoing now for
it's very
actually
effective.
50 years, Michael.
It's very effective politically.
It is. And that's what you clearly have to understand. If you tell your audiences for 50 years that the media is a monolith that stands for everything that frightens you or that you dislike or resent, well, over 5 decades that seeps in.
Okay,
and
so
that has certainly taken place.
So to what end should the media consider as they're reporting on this administration that to use that L word, and by the way, I'm going to put up on the screen because there have been a whole series of different headlines trying to come to terms with this, using words like lie, debunked, without evidence, bogus, unsupported, unsubstantiated, unconfirmed, false. Jennifer, if that's the approach the media is taking with regard to the president, of what consideration should it be that it might help him politically? I just interviewed 3 individuals who are hardened in their belief that they did the right thing in voting for him, and this is part of a media cabal.
It should factor 0. Our job is not to confuse people or unconfuse people. It is to tell the truth. And if certain individuals are going to believe a whole host of misrepresentations, frankly, I felt sorry for your 3 guests because they've been so bamboozled over the years one hardly knows where to start. But it is not our job to consider the political implications of what we do. We report, we give analysis to the best of our ability, and if the president wants to adopt the tactics of Vladimir Putin and other dictatorial figures, that's his choice, and we will continue to report on it as fairly, as closely, as aggressively as we know how.
Hey, Bob.
And that means calling a thing by its name. The difference between a lie and a mere falsehood is that you can be certain that the lie was told with full knowledge that it isn't true, right? That's when you cross the line from giving misinformation to being a liar. And, you know, I actually do suspect that the president is significantly delusional on a lot of things, this voter fraud thing being right at the top of the list. But, I mean, for crying out loud, he didn't like the narrative that it rained on his inauguration speech. So the man lied about the weather. He lied about the rain. He will lie about anything if it puts him, he believes, in a better light.
Final question for both of you, if I may. I sense frustration in both of you that I just had 3 individuals here who voted for Donald Trump, are proud of the way they voted, believe that America is on a path to making itself great again, and that no amount of reportage by your
I'm going to stop you right there.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me finish my question. I want to finish my question.
You sense incorrectly. Our job is not to worry about the feelings of the
Bob,
electorate.
I haven't finished the question. The question was, I sense frustration that you can't reach them. Is that a fair assessment?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is not our job to change the minds of any portion of the electorate. It is our job to hold the government accountable. It is our job to locate facts and report them, to do journalism based on evidence and intellectual rigor. That's our job. And then the chips fall where they may. I'm not going to sweat whether your audience, portions of your audience, or portions of the Michigan electorate don't get that Donald Trump is a dishonest man making insane policy decisions. I can't affect that. What I can do is report the truth, and that's what my colleagues are doing every single day.
Jennifer,
and being called an enemy for doing it.
Jennifer, quickly respond. Are you frustrated at an inability to reach the 46% like the 3 with whom I led the show?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think, what our job is to tell it like we see it, call them like we see it. And you know what? The President of the United States is not going to shut up the press any more than he's going to shut up government employees who he now wants to gag and prevent from presenting scientific knowledge to the American people. You cannot shut down free thought in a democracy. You cannot shut down the press. That's what he's trying to do. And right now, I think it's our job to dig even harder, look at those conflicts, look at those connections to Russia, look at the lies, look at the policy implications of what he is doing, and report it. And if the American people still want him, that's their choice.
Jennifer Rubin, Bob Garfield, thank you. Let's see what the audience is tweeting right now at Smirkanish. S. Santo, tonight's at Smirkanish on CNN. Brilliant illustration of how real our bubbles are and what the other side sees. Santo, these bubbles are a two-way street. I have acknowledged here at the existence of my virtual Northeast United States I-95 corridor bubble, but it goes both ways, and I think you've just had that illustrated. Give me another one. I can sit here and read tweets all night. I love it. You're being fair, unbiased. You're giving the media a bad name. Oh, Stan. Still ahead on our look at President Trump's first week, he met to